Welcome, dear listeners. I'm Jonathan Carlin.
And I'm Benjamin Carlin.
And we invite you to join us through the Griffin door, your one-way ticket to the enchanting world of Harry Potter. So grab your wands and dust off your broomsticks and join us as we unlock the riddles inside Goblet of Fire, Chapter 8, the Quidditch World Cup!
Hey, man, one of the occasions within the wizarding world that is just so scarcely left out of the film adaptation.
Oh my gosh. I cannot, first of all, upon reading the books for the first time, when like our dad was reading us the books.
Yes.
They got to the end of Prisoner of Azkaban, and they're like, oh, you have to come next summer. You can't miss the Quidditch World Cup, Harry. You can't. Or whatever. And I remember from that moment being so excited for this exact chapter for like a year.
Yeah.
So like honestly, when we got to this chapter, this time I was like, I'm so excited. I remember looking forward to this chapter forever. And then subsequently looking forward to it in the movie, and boy, oh boy, was I disappointed by the movie's portrayal of the Quidditch World Cup, which is to say it's not in there at all.
It's not in there at all. I mean, it's like, and they even go through the whole fuss of like, I mean, which they have to do because obviously like plot reasons and stuff, but like of them getting there, of them doing the tents and all that type of stuff. You know, there's some amount of the magical immersion that I want from this era, but then like Ludo Bagman is left out, and they're like the seats that Arthur has are like not good seats compared to like this whole idea of them having like prime tickets in the top box with the announcer. And
there's no Winky.
There's no Winky at all in there. And then like, so part of me, as I entered this chapter, was like, what is it about this chapter that enthralls me so much from like a book reading perspective?
Okay.
And I think I was kind of like dialing in on it a little bit because some of it is just like the fun, upbeat, let's just enjoy the wizarding world at its finest. Like some of that is going on. But then I also feel like, you know, in Lord of the Rings, I feel like people talk about how there can be like pages upon pages upon pages just to describe like a tree or something. And while it's not in that level of detail, this chapter does a really good job of going through and describing like the velvet surface of the Quidditch pitch from the view. You know, like the gilded chairs that are all like, you know, neatly lined up in the top box.
Yeah.
Like the purple like, you know, carpet that goes up the stairs or whatever. It's like there's such a richness in detail that I think like really just like it's just like the festivity of it is it's so good. It's so great. It's so fun. And it's like I have no trouble just being there.
I know exactly what you mean. It's like I think the real purpose of it is like the next chapter is called The Dark Mark.
Right.
So it's sort of like this is like the last great fun wizarding thing that will happen not just for Harry but for like the whole wizarding world before like the tables start to turn.
Yeah,
before the signs literally start appearing in the sky.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And I mean, even within the first paragraph of this chapter, you have the line, shouts and laughter, snatches of singing, the atmosphere of feverish excitement was highly infectious. It's like the classic comfortable calm before the storm. It's like nothing could be happier, nothing could be more upbeat. Like this is like when the Marvel, you know, the Avengers save the world. It's like you save the world so that these moments can exist.
Right.
I mean, there's other reasons, of course, as well. But like, you know, continuing the species and all that type of stuff. Like, but triumphing over evil. But it's like this is just happiness at its purest form. These are people who are just there enjoying themselves. They've got the camaraderie of one another. And I don't know, like I really like the atmosphere, the setting of this chapter as much as I like, you know, the action, the omnioculars, some of the world building, the Veelas, the leprechauns, like all those beats. I mean, and it's all really good. It all sort of like, you know, melts together so nicely. But anyway, I thought this chapter was a treat. Like, I just truly enjoyed it.
Oh, me too. Yeah, I mean, I as I said, I was looking forward to it. We're here. It's so fun.
Yes.
Like, you're right. It's like, it's not like plot things aren't happening, but like this is a chapter where there's a significant amount of action that is not plot related.
Yeah, that's very true. That's
Yeah.
very true. And then there's a lot of like very quiet action that is very
Yes.
plot related. But on your first pass, or if you don't know if you're not any wiser to it, then you have no idea what you're missing.
Oh
So,
yes, exactly.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
A lot of that happening.
So as per always, before we dive on in, let's review the chapter art here for the Quidditch World Cup, which I believe is featuring one Victor Krum. And
Do you think it's Krum?
I mean, it's either Krum or Lynch.
It's Krum or Lynch. I honestly, it's funny. I wrote, surprised they went with Lynch.
Well, I wrote, is this supposed to be Krum?
Okay, yeah.
And so, yeah, I was sort of like, this is not how I picture Krum. Like this guy has almost got like too much like flowing locks.
Yeah, he does. Doesn't like he have like a beard
I'm not sure.
or
if he
like
has
a
beard.
goatee? Maybe not. I don't know why I'm thinking that.
I think he has a goatee when he arrives at Bill and Fleur's wedding.
Okay. Oh, you're right. Yeah, he'd grown it since then.
And I think Ron dislikes it.
I think so. Yeah. You're right.
I
I don't know. For some reason, you're right. Like he doesn't have that like overgrown bird of prey look about him.
Right, like the thick brows.
Yeah, the thick brows and sort of like, whenever that's described, I always imagine him looking like a vulture, kind of.
Sure.
Yeah, which is, I guess a bird of prey. More like scavengers, but.
Right. I had a bunch of comments on this, though. Like, I literally also was like, is this supposed to be a firebolt? And then I literally wrote, like, an underneath that was like, I mean, I know that in Prisoner of Azkaban, the firebolt chapter, it looks exactly like this, but the broomstick that he's flying on is just like your standard looking like
like regular like almost muggle broomstick.
Muggle broomstick, like what you would find like in an actual broom closet.
I know. Like, so as per chapter artwork, I enjoyed the continuity that it does look like the one that was drawn for Harry.
Right.
So I like that. However, I don't like that particular portrayal of the firebolt. However, there's certainly no footrest on that broomstick.
They're not there. We have had people write in and say that I challenged Jay to sit on a broomstick with no footrest for as long as possible to imagine what it would be like to experience such an event.
Here, I'm not saying it's not difficult to do. I'm saying that if you're playing Quidditch, that's part of the challenge.
Okay.
If you're being good at flying means being good at that part of it.
That sitting on
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, this uncomfortable stick.
Yeah.
So anyway, other bits of the chapter art that I took in before we make too many of our listeners angry with your footrest take.
Some people agree with me.
Some people do. People do. I mean, it's like ones.
It's a take. You
Ones,
know, people out there, you know what? You got to take a stand on something.
Yeah, I know. Otherwise,
You know?
you'll fall for anything or something.
Yeah,
However that song goes.
If you stand for nothing, Burr, what will you fall for?
There you go. I also was like, nice bludger dodge. And
You know who doesn't dodge a bludger in this chapter? Also Krum.
Also Krum,
Yeah.
which I then wrote a note following up and said, just kidding, forgot he broke his face.
Yeah.
So the bludger being there and the snitch being there makes me believe that this is in fact Krum. And then my final note is his shoes, to which I just wrote Air Jordans.
I literally wrote unlikely shoes.
Yes,
Like,
yes.
this is not like, I mean, this looks like, I don't know. This doesn't, it looks so much like Schoolboy or something. Like, he looks like he's wearing jeans.
He looks like he's wearing jeans. It looks like his mom took him back to school shopping.
I know.
And he picked up a new pair of kicks from Rack Room and has like maybe some jeans that are meant for like the inevitable growth spurt. So
It's exactly what it looks like. It does not look like this man is competing on an international Quidditch team at the literal highest level of the game.
yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So anyway, ambiguous Quidditch character notwithstanding, we have a great chapter that lies ahead. Kind of
We
a lengthy
do.
one as well. So
Kind of a lengthy one, although it was lengthy, but I found I didn't always have a ton of notes on every page because so much of it would just be like, well, this is just sort of what's happening in the Quidditch match.
that's true. That's
Yeah.
true. Yeah. So, but I have a couple of like takeaways from that, and then the other note that I have to say is that this chapter we could and we may even have in the past, we could just do a Jay versus Ben trivia off on this chapter.
There
alone.
were so many things I highlighted that were like trivia.
Yeah, I know. And
Yeah.
if anything, I was like, I feel bad for whoever eventually ends up getting pages from this chapter from me because there are so many like little trivia notes. But at the same rate, I don't feel bad because it's always kind of fun.
It is kind of
And then
fun.
if you come to see us on tour and you see us in person, you can always ask us a question that we had told ourselves we could remember.
Do you, off the top of your head, remember the Bulgarian prime minister's name?
Voblaski?
That sounds right. I don't know. I don't remember either.
Oh, I thought you would know for sure.
I think that's one of the beaters.
Okay.
On
maybe
the
that's
Bulgarian
it,
team.
You know, the thing I remember is that I don't think Fudge actually gets it right. Like he's like trying.
Oh,
He's trying to pronounce it, and he keeps getting it wrong, and he just sort of like gives up.
yeah. Oh man, I have so many math notes too about the 12 seats
Oh, good.
as
good,
well.
Good.
I was trying to keep track.
Okay, I love that.
Because there are some things that appeared to not make sense, but then I was like, oh no, it does make sense because of the 12-seat problem.
Right.
Yeah.
The 12-seat problem.
The 12-seat problem.
Our new novel coming soon.
Exactly. The 3-body problem. Boy, that book's a thinker.
Yeah. I'm
Anyway.
Sure. Okay. So anyway, we start the chapter. Like I said, the opening first paragraph is just sort of this like kind of environment that nobody could resist wanting to be a part of. It's walking on a warm summer's night through a lantern lit trail. There's sounds of thousands of people moving around, laughter, singing, feverish excitement.
Yes.
I mean, it's just joking loudly. Everybody's clutching their fun souvenirs.
They're souvenirs. I know. I love the description of it because like I know that feeling. You know, when you're just like everything around you is just like just like that fever. You know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like we're big Virginia Tech football fans, and like when you're like walking into the stadium, invariably somebody will just be like, "Let's go!"
Hokies! Yeah.
Which is a chant you do inside of the stadium. So
You sure do.
that's sort of like what I'm taking elements of our real world experience and transposing them into what's here on the page.
Absolutely.
We also learn that the walls of the stadium are actually gold.
Gold walls.
Which I felt like I was like, man, this is like this would be such a spectacle. Is the physical structure that they have itself? Because I mean, it is heavily gilded.
Yeah.
You know, with
Because
all sorts of gold keeps coming up over
gold
and over.
walls surrounding the field. So
Yes.
that means like there's like a giant circular wall that is just the outside of the stadium, right?
I think so. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Like the exterior walls.
The exterior walls are just made of gold. That's wild. It's huge.
It's a lot of gold.
Yeah, a lot of gold. I guess they could just be like colored gold, but
I mean,
I take it to be gold.
I take it to be gold as well.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. So maybe some people are over there taking some like filings off the outside.
Right,
you
yeah.
know, like collect them in little containers.
Right.
Harry also says that you could fit 10 cathedrals comfortably inside of it, to which I was kind of like, Harry, what metric is this cathedral metric?
I know, yeah.
You're rattling off on top of your
How
head.
far? I reckon it's about 20 cathedrals away. You know? Also, like I'm like confused. It's like would the field be bigger than a regular field? Like wouldn't all Quidditch fields be the same size?
I have an interesting question on that exact same note because I know that when we're growing up playing like rec league soccer and stuff, like the ball got progressively larger. So
Yeah.
you started with like a number 3 size ball, then you go up to a 4, then ultimately 5 kind of becomes like the standard. And
Yeah.
I believe this is also true in like American football, where like even the college size football, I think is not as big as the NFL size football.
Okay.
I don't know if I can fully verify that. But anyway, so I was curious about the circumstances of the field because of how large it is described as being. And some of that could just be stadium seats
I think
themselves.
they could be, and like I think you could. It wouldn't surprise me if like a professional Quidditch field was bigger than the Hogwarts Quidditch field.
Sure.
Yeah.
But then do you also think that things like the quaffle could be heavier, the bludgers could be heavier and faster, and then most especially the snitch itself could be much faster?
I think my guess is that the quaffle is the same.
Okay.
But I would bet that it would not surprise me as well if the bludgers and the snitch were faster.
Okay. That
Yeah.
would be my thought as well, because it seems like that would scale with the available talent.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I mean, not to say that, Fred and George aren't good beaters, but like at some point it feels like you would need to magically enhance those balls to do more. Otherwise, professionals would be like ousting.
Oh yeah, like
You know.
it seems like otherwise the broomstick technology, quote unquote, would like start outstripping the bludgers into the point of like not mattering.
Not mattering. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like somebody could hit a bludger at you and you could just literally outrun it.
Right. Yeah. So then it's. I mean, at that point though, maybe it's it's more skill based in terms of like how well you can aim your bats.
That's
stuff,
also
but-
true. Yeah, or maybe it's almost like predicting where the flyer will go and then trying to direct the bludger far enough in front that it's more of like a running into kind of thing, or hitting on the fly.
Although it's possible we're overthinking it because the informality of this entire match is vast.
It is rather vast. It definitely comes across as if like just like everything else in the wizarding world, it is kind of quirky. You know, and it's like despite this being the Super Bowl of Quidditch, it's kind of like a lot of things from like the administration side go wrong.
It doesn't seem like there's a lot of coordination going on as
Yeah.
well. Like I'm trying to imagine like if you're like Troy Aikman and you're about to call a game, I have to imagine every minute of that day before you're starting commenting the game is like getting ready to comment for the game.
That's what my thought would
you
be
know,
as well. Yeah.
Like, whereas obviously we know Ludo Bagman's just like blustering around the field, you know, the campgrounds.
He's just like laying out on the ground, asking Barty Crouch Sr. if he wants a cuppa.
Taking bets.
Yeah.
You know, but not that you couldn't do that as well. Not that every single minute maybe, but like Ludo, like they're going to be sitting up in the top box. People are still sitting down, and Ludo's just going to like come blustering in, like ready to go. All right, and we're off. You
Yes,
know?
I know. Yeah.
It's like, did you coordinate with anyone, or do you need to like go somewhere? Because you just sort of start off the cuff.
You just go for it.
Yeah.
It's like and we begin.
Yeah.
Now is now.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then we also get another little piece of trivia here, which is that there are Muggle repelling charms on every inch of the stadium, and
Yep.
so the detail would be what happens to Muggles every time they get anywhere near it, and they've suddenly remembered urgent appointments, which you know seems like that's figure outable.
It does, yeah.
Yeah.
Also says Ministry Task Force of 500 have been working on it all year, which I'm like, so 500 is like, is Barty Crouch in charge of like all of those, or would that be some of like Ludo's men?
It's a good,
Or you know,
it's a good.
That's a
thing.
huge staff number.
It is a huge staff number, and if anything, I do think not that it would make sense for nobody to care that Bertha Jorkins has gone missing, but like on such a huge staff, somebody like not returning to work could be more like statistically like likely, you know, like almost as if somebody just quit and never told anybody.
Right.
You know, like I guess I could see. I would have to imagine on big corporations, this is something that they deal with monthly.
I mean, I guess if you're like, if you're managing 500 people and if you have 499 other people you're managing and one of them is just sort of like not showing up to work all of a sudden, like how much effort are you putting into that?
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. You've got a lot of other like moving parts for that to feel like something maybe directly in your like sphere of responsibility.
Yeah.
Not to say that, I mean, you know, this is if you've ever read The Martian, it's kind of what I would refer to as like the Mark Watney problem. But
Yeah.
it's like how much effort will humans on Earth put into saving one person?
Right.
And it's kind of like a single human life is worth
Worth a lot.
it's worth a lot.
Yep.
Like, you got to do it.
Gotta do it. Gotta help him
So-
get back.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, she's already dead, so.
That's right. Yeah. So she's not going to get back. But either way, they should care.
Yeah.
And so then I do love this little line from Arthur because it says that they suddenly remember urgent appointments and have to dash away again. And then he says, "Bless them." He added fondly. Arthur's like love for Muggles as if they're like almost like simpletons.
Just like you're kind of hopeless little beings.
yeah, like they're just out there like
Bless them.
bless them. You know. Yeah.
They just don't even know that they don't even have appointments. Huh.
Although it does oddly sound like a you thing, like
Me?
Well, like you being aware of the thing that the people who are being impacted by it have no idea where it's coming from. And it's sort of like, haha. They keep having to walk the other way. Although, who is walking through this moor?
Oh, I know, right? This massive campground area.
Right.
Yeah, where that apparently has been camping 100,000 people.
You know how Muggles just randomly stroll off in the middle of absolute nowhere?
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I do it all the time.
Do it all the time.
Anyway, so then we walk up to the entrance with a swarm of shouting witches and wizards.
Prime seats.
Prime seats.
Yep.
And I like the way that Jim Dale delivers this particular line because oftentimes it will be the case that the book will provide the context that like Harry said through a deep yawn, and like as Jim Dale is reading the line that Harry says through a deep yawn, he will add the yawn.
The yawn.
Sound effect. But I like this one because Jim Dale adds, it says, "Top box, straight upstairs, Arthur, as high as you can go."
Oh.
And it's like this very like, I did a terrible job. I went very Mickey Mouse on that. But, the first floor. But I like that, that this witch is like excited for Arthur.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like a kind of like, look at that. You get to go all the way up to the top.
All the way to the top box.
So that like jovial little like chuckle that
Yeah.
that he adds. I like that. I think it's a fun one.
That's good.
Also, I think it's interesting because in the film, going as high as you can possibly go is considered a bad thing.
Right.
But it seems like very obviously inside of the book, going as high as you can go, and even logically, it makes sense. It's going to give you the best view of what's happening in the air.
Well, I can imagine that it seems to me the best spots would be like middle of the field, but also height equal to the hoops.
Yeah, I could see that.
Right? Because you could build it higher than the hoops and like stare down at it as well as have people staring up at it.
I guess that's a very good point. It seems like wherever they end up going is what you just described, though.
Yeah.
Like they're at like the 50-yard line.
Yeah.
Plain eyesight, which makes sense because Ludo Bagman's gone the game. He needs a good view.
Needs a good view. Absolutely. Yeah. Top box.
Right.
Exactly. So let's see. It also says the stadium is carpeted. I was like, wow, that's a nice touch. Can you imagine how gross the carpet at any stadium would be after 5 minutes?
I truly cannot.
I know.
I mean, it's like, especially with everybody having like walked in from the woods.
From the woods.
Yeah. This rich purple carpet.
Rich purple carpet
is no doubt going to be like a
just a mud colored.
I'm going with brarpit.
Brarpit, yeah.
Which sounds like a satisfactorily horrifying word to describe.
It does.
Kind of muddy, formerly purple brown carpet.
It's not going to be good. Yeah.
Yeah. Brarpit.
Brarpit.
Let's see here. Yeah, so then they reach the top of the staircase, found themselves in a small box set at the highest point in the stadium and situated exactly halfway between the golden goal
50-yard line.
There we go.
Boom.
Yep.
And it says about 20 purple and gilt chairs stood in 2 rows here. About 20. I'm going to call it 20.
About 20, yeah.
About 20.
Which we know the Bulgarians were seeking 12 additional.
They were seeking 12 additional.
Yes, to which in our last chapter we had figured out the Weasleys are in a party of
10.
And
then there's Winky and Barty Crouch Jr.
Exactly. Two seats that are set aside by Barty Crouch Sr. himself, but sort of in this like very potentially like pulling rank kind of way.
Yes, absolutely. So those are the apparent 12 seats that were supposed to be for other ministry officials or the Bulgarian prime minister or minister for magic. And instead, they've been given out as like cover-ups and favors.
Yes, by Ludo, who I feel like Barty Crouch would look down his nose upon, but he also did about 20% the same thing.
About 20% the same thing.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, there's 20 seats in there. So I don't think they actually added the 12 seats.
I don't believe they did.
I think because this is going to fill up half of them right away.
And there are so many people who are about to enter this box.
Yes.
And it's is it 8? Is it 8 people who enter the box?
It will be, well, more than that. I think it'll be 32.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
It's hard to know exactly. It's how, well, but we'll get to it. We'll get to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm beating you to the punch there.
Yeah.
I'm sorry about that. Okay. I love this line. This is another piece of that like setting and world building I like. It says everything was suffused with the mysterious golden light, which seemed to come from the stadium itself.
Yes. I highlighted that because I was like, does this have anything like, I wonder if this is like similar to the golden mist in any capacity.
Oh, interesting.
You know,
like that Harry will eventually encounter in the maze.
In the maze. Yeah.
Which makes them feel like they've flipped upside down, right?
I know. Yeah. I don't know why it would be. But like, I don't know. It will happen later in the book that there will be a golden mist he has to walk through.
That's a good point.
Which we will never encounter again or get any explanation for, other than Harry just has to deal with it once.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It also says that the field looked as smooth as velvet from their lofty position. Again, it sounds amazing.
It does.
There's the gigantic blackboard, which is kind of their version of like a jumbotron.
The chalkboard-tron.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah. Brand new technology. And upon that, we get the blue bottle, a broom for the whole for all the family. So I think this is kind of an interesting one because in the last chapter they were talking about trying to get clearance for magic carpets.
Yeah.
And I feel like they specifically say they want like a family vehicle.
Yeah.
And does this not read to you that the blue bottle is almost like a minivan sized,
like a telephone pole size?
sort of,
Yeah.
yeah. Or like I don't know if you can imagine like behind boats sometimes they pull these like hot dog shaped tubes.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
I'm also sort of picturing that a little bit.
It could also just mean that it is a regular size broom that anyone, like, it's just a very safe broom that anyone in the family could ride.
The phrasing "a broom for all the family," I know, can be interpreted a couple
ways. Yeah.
It's like a single broom,
Right.
Or like a broom that like mom would want to fly the same way as like little Jimmy who kind of wants to go do like like grind some rails. And
Right.
stuff.
Right. Is this like a minivan broom or like a Volvo broom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Precisely. So anyway, then we also learn about Mrs. Scour's all-purpose magical mess remover. No pain, no stain. To which I have no idea what that means.
No pain, no stain. I guess that like you remove the stains without any pain, like no pain and no stain.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like it. No like elbow grease needed to scrub that. Yeah,
right.
Okay. Glad Rags Wizard Wear, London, Paris, and Hogsmeade, which I think is kind of fun because later on in this book, Harry will get Ron a Chudley Cannon's hat for Christmas. And it's always kind of one of those things where I'm like, but where did he get it from?
Oh, must have been here.
Must have been Glad Rags.
Glad Rags.
You walk in, they got a whole wall full of hats.
Right.
For all your various teams.
Maybe he did it by owl post at Quality Quidditch Supplies.
It could have been that too.
Could have been, yeah. Who knows?
There are options.
Yeah. And then down at the end of the row, we have a tiny creature sitting second from the last seat at the end of the row behind them. And that is, of course, Winky. And it says second to last seat because even though Harry and we, the audience, don't know it, in the last seat is Barty Crouch Jr.
That's exactly right. Exactly right.
So that's 12 people now in the box.
Okay, yeah, we're up to 12. And the 12 that we would have accounted for.
Yeah, these are the 12 we would have accounted for.
Exactly.
Yes.
I do love that Harry mistakes this house elf for Dobby.
Yep.
And then the creature looks up with enormous brown eyes and the nose the exact size and shape of a large tomato.
I know. I'm always like, what would that look like?
I know. It reminds me a little bit of like the trolls from Frozen.
Oh, sure.
That kind of build. Either which way, I do believe this is a trivia question we've had in the past, and I always forget large tomato.
Oh, really?
Yes, because like in my head, it's like it feels such a confusing. Like when I picture Dobby, I almost picture like a pencil.
Yeah.
Coming off of his face, and this is more like a bulbousy,
Like a
kind of blobby thing.
Yes. Yeah. I know what you mean. I think that's why I do remember it because I'm always like, I don't know. I can't even picture it.
In the movie Klaus, which is one of my favorite holiday movies, I feel like a lot of the characters also kind of have like these bulbousy.
Oh,
nose.
these like tomato noses.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So
That's
anyway,
that's a good call.
Maybe that's where it's from. Anyway, Winky then asked, "Did you just call me Dobby?" And Harry then is kind of discovering that it is in fact not Dobby, but Winky does know Dobby.
Yes, but I knows Dobby too, sir, squeaked the elf. Yes.
Before Winky says that, I do really like this line from Harry. It says, "Sorry, Harry told the elf. I just thought you were someone I knew." And to me, I think this is such like obvious evidence of the way that Harry respects other magical creatures.
Oh, yes, it is.
That he's referring to Dobby just as someone.
Someone.
Like, no part of him is like another elf. Like he's not further specifying. Like he just views Dobby as someone else.
Someone else.
Yeah.
Yes, you're exactly right. That's very good. And then I think this is important information too, where she's introducing herself. Says, "My name is Winky, sir, and you, sir." Her dark brown eyes widen to the size of side plates, and they rest on Harry's scar. "You was surely Harry Potter." And then Harry confirms it as well, which is important because this is all information that Barty Crouch Jr. is learning in real time as well.
Oh, that's a very good point.
He's like, well.
In fact, my master is looking for you.
Yes, the very person.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
That worked out well. And then Winky says, "But Dobby talks of you all the time, sir," which I also love because it's just like I love to think that Dobby's out there like name dropping Harry in like every conversation he's in.
What is the situation where Dobby is even talking to Winky though? You know, like, is he just showing up at the Crouches just like for a hang with Winky? Like, it doesn't seem like Barty Crouch Sr. would be just for like, oh yeah, Winky, have your friends over, you know?
You know what I think it is? Have you ever seen the movie Wreck-It Ralph?
Yeah.
Okay. In Wreck-It Ralph, all the machines are plugged into an outlet.
Yeah.
And at night, many of them go to this video game that like is like serving beverages.
Yeah,
like
root beer.
Yeah, like root beer and stuff. And they all just sort of like hang, even though they're like all from different video games.
Yeah.
I sort of think it's like that. Like the house elves, like after like all the day's work is done, they all like magically can just like go to like
you think so? Oh, I love that idea. That there's like a place they can go.
like a place they can go and they
congregate.
just sort of like hang. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Because I mean, you're right. Otherwise, it does not seem like house elves would really have any reason to intermingle ever.
I know.
Yeah. So, and I mean, we know that they can be summoned just by calling their name. So, like, if they're there, down having their root beer,
right,
as it were, like all it would take with Lucius being like, you know, Dobby, and then Dobby would just leave.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I like that idea. That is fun.
Yeah. There we go.
That is fun. But apparently Dobby's having ideas above his station, sir. Can't get another position, sir. He is wanting paying for his work, sir. And then again, Harry just like doesn't understand at all. Well, why shouldn't he be paid?
I know. Yes. I think this is like such effortless respect on Harry's part. Like,
yes.
It's like he's like, yeah,
duh.
Why wouldn't he be paid? It's
right.
like, you know, this seems so obvious.
It's also just so tragic the way in which Winky just like can't even fathom it.
I know. I mean, yeah, it's the house elves thing is always so complicated.
Like the I don't know, brainwashing, the propaganda is just so deep.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think the beacon of hope here is that like Dobby will have through his own existence planted enough sort of like agency into the house elves that he's interacted with that he can single-handedly be creating a movement of good for all of house elf kind. That's my hope there.
Oh man. But then I don't know if you noticed this line too. It's like she goes down, she says, "You goes racketing around like this, Dobby," I says, and next thing I hear, you's up in front of the Department for the Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures like some common goblin. I was just like, whew. So there's like prejudice even from the house elves toward goblins. I'm like, it's like prejudice inside of prejudice, you know?
It really is. And I mean, it like the goblin thing is kind of fascinating because it seems like goblin kind versus wizard kind is almost as like important as wizard kind's relationship with non-magical people as well. Like goblin rebellions and stuff, it seems like there's what they're always learning about in the history of magic. Like it just comes up a lot. There's there's a lot of like, you know, like heat inside of that relationship.
Yes.
But then I love Harry's response to this as well. He says, "Well, it's about time he had a bit of fun."
Oh, I know.
As if appearing before the Department of Regulation and Control of Magical Creatures is like going to Chuck E. Cheese or something.
Yeah, right? But then I hate her response. Just, house elves is not supposed to have fun. House elves does what they is told. And I'm just like, ugh. It like hurts to read it.
I know. It really is.
It's just like that. That's why we exist. It's
I know. Well, okay. So, and then this next couple of lines I think are kind of interesting because I find them to be misleading. It says, "I is not liking heights at all, Harry Potter, but my master sends me to the top box and I come, sir." And Harry sort of like asked the obvious question. Well, if he knows you don't like heights, like why did he send you up here?
Yeah.
And you know, it's just like master wants me to save him a seat, tilting his head toward the empty space behind her. But the thing is, and I had to flash forward a little bit to Barty Crouch's confession on page 695 of the story here. And basically, under Veritaserum, Dumbledore asked Barty Crouch Jr., tell me about the Quidditch World Cup. And what Barty Crouch responds with is, "Winky talked my father into it," said Crouch, still in the same monotonous voice. "She spent months persuading him. I had not left the house for years. I had loved Quidditch. Let him go," she said. "He will be in the invisibility cloak. He can watch. Let him, you know, go get some fresh air or something." Because I have to, smell fresh air for once. So it's like, I mean, I guess it could be the case that Winky is not necessarily pleading for the right to go with him. Like maybe this is the kind of thing where it's like, you got to let him go. And it's like, fine, but you're going too. And it's like,
right.
No, I don't want to. My point is here is that this will come up over and over again. Like I think Hermione will bring it up as like one of the things that she's like frustrated with Barty Crouch Sr. for making Winky go up here. But like, And of course, there's no way for Hermione to know, and she's just advocating for house elves' rights, which is
Right.
the right position. However, it's like under these specific circumstances, like Winky pushed for this,
Right.
like wanted this to happen,
Right.
So it sounds a little bit more forceful than I believe this specific instance is.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Okay,
that
okay.
makes sense. But then I think it's interesting that she does like tilt her head towards the empty space, which of course to her she's like she knows that someone's sitting there,
Right,
But
yes.
like they don't know somebody is sitting there. But also, I feel like this entire excuse is just paper thin because like as if you need seats saved in the top box, like aren't seats like assigned?
There are only 20 of them, and it seems like very exclusive circumstances under
Yeah.
which you find yourself in them.
Save them a seat.
Yeah,
What are you
yeah.
talking about? What are you talking about? Whatever.
yeah.
Whatever. And then I think it's weird too that Ron's like, so that's a house elf. It's like Ron has existed in the wizarding world for like 14 years now. And it's like, you've never even seen a house elf?
I wrote the exact same thing. I was
Yeah.
like, rare that Harry knows something that Ron doesn't.
Yeah.
This could be the type of thing, though, that like the Weasleys, I mean, it seems like house elves are usually associated with like a layer of wealth, like
Yeah.
like the Crouches and the Malfoys. So it's possible that the Weasleys, just wouldn't have one because of their own financial status, but it could also be a principal thing.
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
Like the Weasleys are sort of like, no, we're not going to have a house elf. Like,
Right. Yeah. Like,
know.
yeah. I like to think that's more the case.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
For sure. Because otherwise it's just like, I feel like Dobby would just go work for them,
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
And I bet the Weasleys would pay him.
I know. I
Yeah.
bet they would.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Yeah, that said, Ron has way more important things to be worrying about than house elves at the moment because he's got out the omnioculars and he is making a guy pick his nose over and over and over again.
and again. And
And
again.
again!
This was another one I wrote down as a piece of trivia because I think it would be really funny. What does Ron first focus on when pulling out his omnioculars?
Yeah.
Someone picking their nose.
Someone picking their nose.
That's a hard one to just pull off your hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, or out of your hat. Yeah.
Yeah. Very funny. Yes. And then let's see. Hermione gives us a little exposition. A display from the mascots will precede the match. And Mr. Weasley's like, oh, that's always worth watching. Like, as if they just skip it, Like, oh, what is happening? Never mind.
I'm not interested.
Not interested.
Right. Yes. Yep. That is interesting though, because I mean, like before like American sporting events, and I think most sporting events the world over, they usually sing like the national anthem.
Yeah.
Of some kind. It usually is a kind of a spectacle.
Yeah, it is for sure.
So this is sort of them doing a piece of that. That sort of tracks.
Yep. That makes sense to me.
Yes, and then the next page I think is kind of interesting. It says Mr. Weasley kept shaking hands with people who were obviously very important wizards. Which on some level this could just be like you're in the top box, and so like whoever's walking in may just sort of be like, oh yes, you are a fellow human being. How are you?
Right.
But I like to interpret it as though like Arthur is very well regarded by other wizards.
Right. Like he's well known within the ministry.
Exactly.
I think so.
Because I think that would really go like a long way towards like, he's doing what he loves. And like that is more important to him than like climbing the corporate ladder. So to
Absolutely.
speak.
Yeah. But see, this is where we get into some numbers here because this is like, these are the people who are otherwise sitting in the box. And if you recall, 20 chairs, 10 people are already there.
12 people already there.
12. Right.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Because we also
Yes.
have Winky and Barty Crouch, right?
You're right. Okay. So really, there's only 8 spots left in there. And
Yes.
yet it says Percy jumped to his feet so often that he looked as though he were trying to sit on a hedgehog. So like that could be if he pops up 8 different times and has 8 different conversations, that's enough. That's enough to satisfy that sentence, I think.
Right.
But then we know for sure, we don't know how many people come in for that. Then he says, when Cornelius Fudge, the Minister of Magic, arrived, Percy bowed so low that his glasses fell off, which is like, be cool, dude. But he has at least, the 2 other people with him, right? With Fudge? He has the minister, because he has someone on at least each side of him.
Okay, let's see here. Oh, yes. Okay, so I'm sorry. I was looking for the line that you just said. But yes, it says they met before, and Fudge shook Harry's hand in a fatherly fashion, asked how he was, and introduced him to the wizards on either side of him. Harry Potter, to the Bulgarian minister loudly, who was wearing splendid robes of black velvet and trimmed gold.
There you go.
Detail. Trivia. And didn't seem to understand a word of English. Harry Potter. This scene is kind of funny because the Bulgarian wizard at this point in time is literally just pretending to not understand.
Right.
Because we will eventually know.
He does understand.
Yes. Which is kind of funny because he's acting so far as to basically pretend to not know who he is, and then spot Harry's scar, and then start gabbling loudly and excitedly pointing at it.
Yes.
Meaning, like, he's committed to his bit.
He is committing to the bit. Absolutely. Yes. And then Fudge admits that he's not no great shakes at languages. I need Barty Crouch for this sort of thing. I see his house elf saving him a seat. Which, I point out, not needed. Although Fudge says, good job, too. Those Bulgarian blighters have been trying to cadge all the best places. It's like, they understand him saying that.
Yes. I highlighted that and I was like, LOL, because Ludo took them all.
Yeah. But also he says, good job, too. And I'm like, good job. They're sitting way at the end, it said. They picked the worst seats in the box.
Yeah.
I know. So there is that. But if we're keeping track, we have at least the 12 people who we know of: the Weasley party, Barty Crouch Jr., and Winky. That's 12.
Yep.
We have Fudge and at least 2 Bulgarian people.
So we're up to 15.
Up to 15. And then the Malfoy family is about to enter. That'll bring us up to 18, right?
Yep, because we'll have Harry or Draco, Lucius, and Narcissa.
Yep. And then we will also have Ludo Bagman show up, right?
Okay, so that's 19. Yep.
19. Okay. I think that's where. How are we looking here? Fudge, 3 Malfoys, Winky, Barty Crouch Jr., 16 Bulgarian group, 3 more. I don't know. Yeah. So maybe that's right. That's right. Maybe that's right at 20 then, or I guess that's at 19.
At 19.
But that's them. Even so, then there's like, who are all these other people who show up that Percy is?
Right. Like,
right?
Are they just traveling up to the top box to Gladhand?
Oh, could be.
Or are they traveling up there because they have seats up there?
I feel
because
like
if so, we've surpassed our 20 seats.
Yeah, absolutely.
And to be fair, it does say about 20 seats.
About 20.
So there is an outside chance that it is like more than that, but this is kind of like one of those classic things where it's like if it was 25 seats, it would say 25.
It would say 25, right? So
You
about 20 is like maybe 22, maybe 18.
Maybe 18. True.
Yeah.
True. Or 19, because that's exactly how many people we definitely know.
It's really not that important. I'm just having fun keeping track of it.
Exactly. This is all part of the game. I like to think that everybody listening in right now is sort of like, we're
we want to know. We're concerned.
Exactly. Yeah, this is important stuff. One thing I don't believe at all is when Lucius is talking to Fudge and he says, I don't think you've met my wife, Narcissa. And I mean, he also includes, or our son, Draco. And I'm like, there's no way in the world.
No way.
Like, I mean, I think about all of like, the kind of like dinners and functions and stuff like that like well-to-do people attend.
Yeah.
Certainly. People of this status have been in the same room before.
Oh, no doubt. This is no way Narcissa is meeting Cornelius Fudge for the first time.
Yes.
No way.
Yeah. I also like that Harry's description is that she would have been nice looking if she hadn't been wearing a look that suggested there was a nasty smell under her nose. I am pretty sure Harry brings this exact one-liner back on Draco later in the book.
He does. He's like, your mother, Malfoy?
Yes.
Does she always look like that?
Yes.
Or she had a bit of dung under her nose?
Don't talk about my mother, Potter.
Oh man, here we go. And then here's the answer to the trivia question earlier for the Bulgarian. Who was the Bulgarian Minister of Magic? It's Oblonsk, Mr. Oblonsk.
Yes, Oblonsk. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. What did I say? Voblansky?
Yeah, you said Voblansky.
Okay. At least I was in like the general zip code.
Yeah, you had the Blansk in there.
Had the Blansk.
Yeah,
had the Blansk.
for
Which
sure.
I mean, it seems like Fudge is mispronouncing it anyway. So
which he can understand him doing.
Yes. Yeah. But he does say he can't understand a word of what I'm saying anyway.
Yes,
And I
but
was
he
like,
can.
Yeah, but he can. Let's see here. Then there's a bit of a tense moment because Mr. Malfoy and Mr. Weasley last when they had seen each other was at Flourish and Blots with the old Gilderoy Lockhart incident.
Yeah.
Where Lucius would have been dropping the diary into Ginny's cauldron.
Yeah.
Something that honestly I can imagine if Arthur knew had happened and encountered Lucius again, would want to just punch him in the teeth.
Yeah. I mean, do you think he does know that it was him?
I mean, I'm surprised Arthur can keep his cool if he knows.
Yeah, I know,
mean,
right?
'cause, like, I mean, certainly it would cause a scene in front of the Minister of Magic, but I mean, that's pretty bad.
Pretty bad.
Yeah, I mean, like Ginny almost died.
Yes. Yeah. Voldemort almost came back.
Yeah. It was a pretty severe incident.
Yes. Also, I love this. It's like, good Lord, Arthur, what did you have to do to get seats in the top box? Surely your house wouldn't have fetched this much, which, one, super rude, but then just Fudge, who wasn't listening, said, it's just like, oh, that's convenient.
I know. I was like, the Malfoys are never caught being jerks. This happens every single time Draco says something to Harry, with the exception of the time I think like Moody shows up and turns him into a ferret.
Yeah.
But it is always the case that like Harry will retort to something Malfoy said, and then Snape will walk around a corner and be like, "What's that, Potter? 10 points from Gryffindor."
Yeah.
And it's like, come on.
It's like in football when they get like the flat, like if someone like when they like throw flags for like personal fouls or whatever.
Yes.
Like if someone like, because they like hit someone, it's like the second person always gets the flag.
Yes.
Like the first person will like initiate it by shoving or hitting or something, and then the ref will turn around and just see the second half of it.
Yep.
Yeah. Happens every time.
Every time.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Then we know that Lucius has given a very generous donation to St. Mungo's Hospital for Magical Maladies, probably at an event that Narcissa was present for.
Probably.
He's here as my guest, which this is like one of those things that like I can't imagine how this would feel for Arthur. Like he has secured such a once in a lifetime experience for his family and two of his kids' friends. And it is like the highlight of his year. He's not working. Every other ministry official is working. Like, this is such a fun, rare, golden opportunity of like wonderful news for Arthur. And then his number one least favorite person shows up in one of the other 8 seats that are available.
I know.
And it's just like, I mean, I think about like when I'm like, if I run into someone who like, from like way, way, way long ago or high school or something, I don't want to interact with like a brewery with like 100 other people in it. I'm like, oh, what is this? How? What are the odds?
What are the odds?
Yeah.
Yeah, but there he is, going to sit there. He has that kind of like, can you imagine, how does Ginny feel probably right here?
True.
Right?
True. Yeah, I bet she's like clenching her fist.
Yeah, she is probably not happy about this.
Yes.
At all. And then it also says that Mr. Malfoy's eyes return to Hermione to remind us all how much that, one, that she is Muggle-born and how much the Malfoys detest Muggle-borns and that they are like pure blood supremists.
I like that Hermione kind of holds her ground though. Like she doesn't like break stare. She's kind of like, it's like, yeah, Hermione.
Yeah,
Show
that's
him.
right.
Show him.
Yes.
Let's see here.
But then we have Ludo Bagman charging into the box 5 seconds away from starting the match,
Yes, exactly. Everyone ready? He said, his face gleaming like a great excited Edam. Edam? I don't know what that word is.
Oh, wait, where is it?
It says, everyone ready. He said, his round face gleaming like a great excited
Oh,
Edam.
man, I don't know. Edam?
Hold on, I'm going to look it up because I feel like we can't talk about it and then not give people the answer.
Okay.
They'll be on the edges of their seats, no doubt.
What's an EDAM? Edam.
A cheese?
A cheese looking like a great excited cheese?
Edam.
It's capital E.
It is a capital E. It's from Netherlands. A semi-hard Dutch cheese with a smooth, firm texture and a mild, nutty flavor. It's named after the town of Edam in North Holland, and has been a staple since the 15th century.
So when it says his round face gleaming like a great excited Edam, it's comparing him to a wheel of cheese?
I mean, literally everything I'm seeing has to do with either a city in Netherlands or the cheese itself.
I have to assume it's the cheese.
I have to assume it's the cheese.
Yes.
I'm glad we looked.
I'm glad we looked. All right. Well, I've never pictured Ludo Bagman with a wheel of cheese for a head, but I will henceforth imagine that.
Yes, indeed. I mean, people do say like, say cheese or
say
like
cheese.
Like he was cheesing.
Yeah. Well, he's cheesing all the time. I'm imagining like the Cheez-Its commercial where they're like, there's always those blocks of cheese.
Yes.
And he's like, I woke up being the cheesiest, coach.
Yes.
That's what I'm imagining is his head now.
Yes. Yeah, you're right there. So 5 seconds later, Ludo's like, ready. And then he just goes, sonorous.
I know. It's like, there's no pomp and circumstance about it at all. He's just like, welcome, everybody. Let's go.
Yes, to the 422nd
Wow.
Quidditch World Cup, which I did come up with a fun way to remember. Do you want to hear it?
Oh gosh, let's hear it.
Okay. So it's 4, 2, 2, and then 4 equals 2 plus 2.
Yeah.
So 422.
422.
It's a really dumb way of doing it, but you know what? It might work.
Yeah, it could work.
Yeah.
4 divided by 2 equals 2. 422.
422.
There you go. Easy.
Yeah.
Bam. How often is the Quidditch World Cup? Is it 4 years?
I want to say it's every 4 years.
Yeah, okay.
That feels like standard world sports.
Yeah, world
cadence.
sports cadence. It
Yeah.
does. Yep. Okay, so then I'm wondering how long this has been going on. I guess, right? Roughly 1,000 years. I guess.
I mean, what would it be like? 1688.
Yes. 26. Yeah. 88 plus 400 times 4, 1600.
Does that mean the founders did not have Quidditch?
No, this would be older than Hogwarts.
Would it be older? Oh, you're right.
Yes.
You're right. I'm sorry.
But it means Quidditch predates Hogwarts.
That is the fun fact I meant to say.
That's crazy. Leagues predate Hogwarts.
Yes, you're right. Because I think 990 is approximately the time, and so if we're going back, so I mean maybe 600 years. In excess.
That's wild. And they were had enough to have World Cups.
Yeah. Unless our 4-year thing is off,
And that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But I think if it's off, it's because it's every 5 years,
and not every 1 year.
not every year.
Not every year.
I don't think it's every year.
It seems like it would come up in other books if it was every year.
Yeah, I know, right?
Because even being strategically placed in the 4th book means it wouldn't have to happen again until Harry was 18.
Exactly.
And it would mean that we would never have to handle it again.
Exactly.
So every 4 years seems to make sense.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it would have happened the year before Harry got to school and then the year after Harry left.
Right.
And right in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
There we go.
I'm going with every 4 years, but you can write it in and let us know if we're wrong.
Okay, excellent. Either way, we're off to the races here. We've got the score flying up on the chalktron. What do I call it? Chalkboardtron.
Chalkboardtron, yeah.
Bulgaria 0, Ireland 0. And now, without further ado, allow me to introduce. This is the thing where I'm were they just on standby down there? Just in any second now, Ludo might start talking. So just be ready. Who knows when it's going to happen?
Yeah.
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 I guess so. Same with the Quidditch teams. They're just we don't know. So just be standing out here for when Ludo starts talking.
Right. Inside of the tunnle.
Inside of the tunnel.
Yeah.
Ready. Hopefully you're in the right order. Right.
Right. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that's true. That's true. But yeah, so then the Bulgarian national team mascots come out, which are Veela.
Yep.
Which is kind of interesting because it means that Krum and Fleur are not terribly separated from one another because her grandmother was Veela.
Right.
And so that means if Krum plays for the Bulgarian national team, it means he's Bulgarian.
Yes.
Most likely.
I honestly, as we were writing this, because Krum is described as looking like a great bird of prey.
Yeah.
That sort of face. And the Veela turn into bird creatures.
They do.
As well. And they're from Bulgaria.
Is Krum part Veela?
Is Krum part Veela? Yes, that's what I'm wondering as well.
People are obsessed with him.
Yeah, that's true too.
Yeah,
that's true too.
When you go to the Bulgarian tents, all of the walls
right are all Krum.
It's all Krum.
Right, and it's Veela are women, but if he just had that doesn't mean that Flora's parents couldn't have had a son.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So it's maybe you're getting less of that sort of ethereal beauty that that Fleur might have, but you might still have some magical attributes.
Yeah.
Left over.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm liking it.
I don't hate it.
I'm liking it.
Krum is part Veela.
Krum's part Veela. All right, there you go. You heard it here first.
There you go.
Both the other champions are part Veela.
Right. And Harry was really against the odds here.
I know. And then Cedric's just so beautiful. He's just so handsome.
He's so handsome.
It's just these 3 super good-looking people and Harry.
Harry.
Oh, so poor Harry. Poor Harry.
I know. Yeah.
He's I wear glasses. I can make that joke because I do wear glasses. Okay?
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the Veela were women, the most beautiful women Harry had ever seen. Except They couldn't be human. This puzzled Harry, who momentarily tried to guess exactly what they could be. What could make their skin shine moon bright, or their white hair fan out behind them without wind?
Well, it sounds like Ari, Ben.
I thought the exact same thing. Which
Ari is Veela.
That's a name of the wind reference, but we would need to dig into the mythology behind Veela to figure out whether or not Patrick Rothfuss, who wrote Name of the Wind, could have been pulling from that. But that's a completely different thing. Don't start me on Name of the Wind; I will get sidetracked.
Moon bright, Ben.
I know. I read it too. Anyway,
We're not going to get sidetracked.
thank you.
He says they couldn't be human. And I'm like, well, they got to be at least human enough to like breed with.
Yes, exactly.
Right?
Yes, some manner.
Some manner of human.
Right. But this is kind of interesting because it says, in fact, he stopped worrying about anything at all. The violet started to dance, and Harry's mind had gone completely and blissfully blank. So let me turn to page 231 when describe the effects. Did you do the same thing, the Imperious Curse?
Very Imperious-like.
So on page 231, it says, this is Moody puts the Imperious Curse on Harry. It was the most wonderful feeling. Harry felt a floating sensation, and every thought and worry had left his head, was gently wiped away, leaving nothing but a vague, untraceable happiness.
Yeah.
So my poor reading skills aside, it does feel like whatever power the Veelas are exuding almost seems like a soft magic version of the Imperious Curse.
I literally wrote down it's like a diet specific version of the Imperious Curse.
Wow.
Yes.
Remarkably
I
same
know.
page on this one.
It is like the Imperious Curse can control anybody and is more powerful, but they absolutely create a lighter effect on men.
Yes.
Specifically
Seems
Yes.
to be the case, yeah. And it seems like the full function of this like Imperious capability is dedicated towards getting anyone to do what they want them to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it seems like for the Veela, what that is to desire them. It's like they always make them desire the same thing. Whereas if you're casting the Imperious Curse, you can just make them do whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
But they are, they're cut from the same cloth.
There's no doubt.
There's
about
no
it.
doubt.
It's way too similar, especially inside of the same book where we're going to learn about both of these
Absolutely
magical things. So
even the next thing, it says wild half-formed thoughts started chasing around through Harry's dazed mind, which is like kind of like that like voice in the back of his head telling him to like jump on the table.
yes, well, and that's what it says. Jumping from the box into the stadium seemed like a good idea.
Yeah.
And the very thing that Moody attempts to do to Harry is it says jump onto the desk, jump onto the desk, and it's like Harry almost does it. So,
Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, it's so interesting that it's even the same general action is being used against them both times.
Yeah. It's almost surprising he's as affected by it because like he's able to shake off the Imperious Curse so well.
Right.
But I suppose this is more just like catching him off guard and by surprise.
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't know what he's up against or the effects or anything, but
Yeah.
it doesn't seem like he goes on to have the same susceptibility as like Ron does towards Fleur throughout the school year. So I do think Harry has more tenacity when it comes to this particular impact.
Yeah.
Even if it is the same.
Oh, by the way, when the Veela are coming on the field, we skipped over this. I love when Mr. Weasley realizes it. It says he suddenly whipped off his glasses and polished them hurriedly. Smooth. He's like, oh, hello there, Veela. I'll make sure I get a look at you ladies.
Arthur.
Arthur. He's like, well, Molly's not here.
Hold that thought because I want to come back to it here in just a minute.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love though that it goes so far as Harry's like, I would of course be supporting Bulgaria.
Yeah.
And wondering vaguely why he had a large green shamrock pinned to his chest. And then Ron is shredding shamrocks in his hand, and then Mr. Weasley's like, you're going to be wanting that once I didn't have had the essay.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it does end up being the case because what seemed to be a great green and gold comet came zooming into the stadium. The whole way in which the leprechauns are described is kind of fascinating because it reminds me so much of modern day drone shows.
Yeah,
Have you
exactly.
seen these?
Yes, I
Yeah.
have. They're insane.
It's really unbelievable.
Yeah.
But it's like lots and lots and lots of like synchronized drones that can like fly in such tandem that they're able to like create messages and like kind of visual aesthetic in the sky. I've long believed that there's a possibility that like they could eventually like replace the more cumbersome or potentially dangerous nature of like fireworks. With doing drone shows.
I mean, I've wondered that as well, because like you could do like a lot, maybe not the exact same effect, obviously, but you could reproduce the same show over and over for free.
For free,
you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Once you've invested into the technology of the drones, then you could just keep doing it.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that it is described is it sounds like they can kind of like keep reconfiguring to do all sorts of different really cool things, and then of course they start raining the leprechaun gold all over everyone.
Yep.
Which is even kind of interesting because I'm curious whether or not the leprechaun gold looks like galleons.
It has to.
I mean-
I had this exact question because,
Yeah.
otherwise, why would Fred and George even accept it from Ludo Bagman?
Precisely.
You know?
Yeah. Unless it's the kind of thing where like raw materials in the Wizarding world are just sort of like you could still go and take them to Gringotts and like exchange them for.
Right, oh yeah, this is just like gold coins, so just bring it to Gringotts and they'll take the gold and
then give you galleons,
Yeah.
like exchange it or something.
What's more surprising to me though is that like Ron just doesn't know about leprechaun gold.
It's another one of those weird gaps in his knowledge. I
Right.
feel like especially because Ron is so constantly like the voice of.
Yeah.
Let me explain Wizarding World rules to you.
Yeah, yes. So not only does Ron not know about it, which is it's like this is the sort of thing you'd expect Ron to know that like Harry wouldn't know.
Yes.
Or
yeah.
something that maybe Arthur should tell them immediately.
Also true.
Also
yeah,
true.
it's
Not-
like,
but
don't get too attached.
Yeah, but what's even more glaring, and I think more of like a plot mishap here, is that we know that Ludo Bagman is going to use this same gold to pay the goblins, to pay his debt to the goblins he owes for other gambling losses.
Right.
Right? The goblins should know.
They should know.
Like they should know.
Because the whole point of Grip Hook being included as heavily as he is, once you get into the 7th book in the series, is to identify
The sword.
The sword.
Like he can tell the difference between the true sword and the fake sword.
Exactly.
Like there's no way goblins can't spot leprechaun gold a mile away.
a mile away.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
So the fact that he gets away with that is also, that feels unlikely.
Well, and I guess he, yeah, right. I guess he doesn't get away with it. The question is, how quickly were they mad?
Right.
Like, would he show up and be like, oh, yes, of course I have your payment, and like slide it across the table, and they're like,
Nope. And
And
he's,
he's
like, well, see ya.
and then like, it's almost like the cartoonified version of like a little cloud is like left behind him.
Right. I mean, I guess that's possible.
Yeah. So anyway, then finally though, we get to see the players for each of the teams kind of be introduced to the stadium. So you got the Bulgarian national Quidditch team first, followed by the Irish,
Ireland. Yep.
the Ireland team. This is the scene though where we get the description of Krum, just the way that you've kind of been saying it. Victor Krum was thin, dark, and sallow skinned with a large curved nose and thick black eyebrows. He looked like an overgrown bird of prey. Is the exact phrasing we get. It was hard to believe he was only 18, which is again kind of like doubling down on this sentiment that should make it less absolutely shocking when he arrives up for the Quidditch World Cup.
Or do you remember the Triwizard Tournament?
The Triwizard Tournament is
Yeah.
exactly what I meant. Although it is kind of interesting still because wizards come of age at 17, and so he is like a fully of age wizard still
Right.
in high school.
Yeah.
It's kind of surprising.
That's
but
well, but like that's, you have to be of age to even enter the Triwizard Tournament.
that's true.
Yeah.
You have to be at least 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So Cedric is as well.
Right.
You know.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then anyway, we get all the Ireland team: Connolly, Ryan, Troy, Mullet, Moran, Quigley, and Lynch.
And Lynch.
That's right. That's right.
Lynch is gonna have a bad game.
he does not have his best game.
Not a great game.
Yeah. He's really thanking his chasers for his
Ooh, yeah.
his Quidditch World Cup ring that he gets or whatever.
Yes.
I
mean, he doesn't have no impact on the game.
That's true.
He kind of forces Krum to catch it when he does, because if Krum doesn't, like, Lynch will just catch it.
And then it's definitely
And
over.
then it's definitely,
Yeah.
then it's really bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we learn that the referee is all the way from Egypt and goes by the name of Hassan Mustafa.
Yes.
That is a piece of trivia that, you know, any self-respecting Harry Potter
fan, you got to know Hassan Mustafa.
You got to put that square in your back pocket.
I know. I was like, I know that one. That one's come up on so many trivia quizzes.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I think I would spell it wrong every time. But
Probably.
I think recently I think I put like Mufasa.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
Hassan Mufasa.
Just kind of like weasel its way into my brain.
There you go. Let's see. Small, skinny wizard, completely bald, but with a mustache. Rival Uncle Vernon's wearing robes of pure gold to match the stadium. Which, like, I mean, I would love it if all of the referees in football games were wearing solid gold uniforms.
That would be super.
Can you
neat.
imagine?
I can't. I mean, literally, my mind goes to Aladdin and the 40 Thieves.
Yeah.
Is that the third installment of Aladdin?
Aladdin and the King of Thieves.
The King of Thieves,
Yeah.
rather, who is Aladdin's father. Spoilers.
Yeah. Yes.
But there's like the Hand of Midas.
Yeah.
And at some point in time, I think somebody literally like turns their cape gold.
Yeah.
And the depiction of how heavy it becomes, perfect.
Perfect.
Nailed
it.
Go and watch the third Aladdin, why don't you? Let's see here. Then Mustafa is carrying out the large wooden crate, which
He walks onto the field. He's not flying.
Not flying.
Walking.
Yeah.
This, even the way the game starts, very non-pomp, no circumstance to it at all. He just sort of walks out, unlatches it, and there. Yeah, I guess we're going.
Now we're going. Yeah.
There's not like a tip off or like he threw the quaffle into the air. He just like opens the lid.
Yeah, I know. This is again like it's like, does the quaffle fly a little bit or do something?
Yeah, I think someone didn't someone write in and say like it doesn't. It like slows. It falls slower.
Maybe someone did. I can't remember. Yeah, that make sense. I like that. That's a good version of it. Harry can spot the minuscule winged golden snitch for just a second before it disappears into the air. There, Wolf! Screamed Bagman, and it's Mullet, Troy, Moran, Dimitrov, back to Mullet, Troy, Levski, Moran. Which I think is kind of interesting because we know the chasers are really good. It seems like the ball is going back and forth really fast, but the Dimitrov and Levski being included in that means that it's actually changing hands.
Yeah.
Twice.
Yes. So I love it. I mean, it's interestingly, like, I don't know how intentional all of it is, but it's Mullet, Troy, Moran, Dimitrov, back to Mullet, which makes it sound like because he had the ball first, passes it to Troy, who passes it to Moran, and then I guess it gets like intercepted probably on its way back to Mullet because it sounds like they're just passing so fast.
Yes.
Right? But that means Mullet is almost anticipating the interception, gets it immediately back, but then Troy is there to immediately block him and pass it to Levski, but then Moran is circled back and like already gotten it. It's just like the speed at which they're playing.
I know, yeah. And I
Crazy.
mean, that is literally the next line, too. It was Quidditch as Harry had never seen it played before.
Yeah.
Which is really cool because it's like you can almost imagine it. And my note to anybody doing like the HBO series, because you've got time to prepare for this, would be to make this as cool as humanly possible.
Absolutely. Like,
Yeah.
you got to get this right. Like, start working on it now.
I know. It would be really, really, really cool to like see it perfectly executed.
Yes.
Yeah. It would just be so fun. 'Cause
Well, I mean,
it sounds amazing.
I know. And I love the Quidditch scenes in the movies. Like there's like the one game in the snow, like in year 6, I think.
Yeah.
Where they're like flying down there, like Ginny scores, and then they go back to the other side of the field, and Ron's blocking all the hoops and stuff, and it's just like it's so fun. Like they have really good music during it.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's a blast.
Yeah, it's a blast. Like spend some time on the Quidditch because the Quidditch is great.
It is. Yep. Let's see here. So then Harry is looking through his omnioculars. We get a couple other really good pieces of trivia that are so unbelievably obscure, which would be at least 2 of 3 different formations that Harry can see through his omnioculars, including the Hawk's Head attacking formation, which, as far as I'm concerned, I just read for the first time in my entire life, if not for the very next one, which is the Porskov Ploy.
The Porskov Ploy.
Yeah. So
Must be more of a that's a beater formation, right? No. The Bulgarians Porskov Ploy flashed up next as Troy made it through the I don't know.
I know. I mean, the Porskov Ploy, and I mean, I could be massively generalizing here, so apologies in advance. It seems like the Porskov Ploy would be a Bulgarian tactic, but I believe it's being enacted by the
Oh, you're right.
the Irish Chasers.
Yep, you're right. I mean, I suppose whoever comes up with it doesn't mean other teams can't use it.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Any team can use the Hail Mary.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Anyway, so then we get a little bit of scoring going on. I think this is when Bulgaria gets. Do they? No. Let's see here. Maybe I'm jumping ahead of myself.
Well, so Troy scores first, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed,
10-0 Ireland. But Lefty's got the quaffle. There we go. Harry says, but Lefty's got the quaffle. Like he's unaware that he's watching in slow motion.
That's exactly it. Yes, which I can totally see the temptation for, because it would be like, oh, I want to know more about like what they just did.
Yeah.
Especially as a Quidditch player.
Especially since they don't have like an actual Jumbotron that will just show replays.
Also that. Yeah. But then, Hermione's like, Harry, you're not going to. Oh, I'm sorry, Harry. If you're not going to watch at normal speed, you're going to miss things.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, that would be such a bummer.
I know, right?
Miss the first goal of the match.
The first goal of the match. Wow.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there's going to be 16 more.
Yes.
Yeah.
Plenty to go around.
Yep.
But this was also kind of interesting because it says Harry knew enough about Quidditch to see that the Irish chasers were superb. They worked as a seamless team. Their movements were so well coordinated that they appeared to be reading one another's minds as they positioned themselves. And I was like, they could literally be using legilimens.
I said, it's possible, I suppose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, I mean, and I was like, that is a really fascinating concept, because that skill within the wizarding world is not specifically like a sports related skill. So to have assembled a group of 3 players for those chasers who can all do it, it's kind of like, that's pretty sweet.
I mean, I think that'd be a very interesting application to sports.
Yes.
Like, especially like okay, you 3, not only do you need to be good at like reading minds, but you need to do it without eye contact. You need to be like very open to letting your mind being read by these 2 people.
Right.
But like, I wonder like if they're like also like good occlumens, so like the other teams can't do it or something.
Oh yeah.
It's very like directional occlumency or something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. It reminds me of I feel like I'm jumping all over the place, but in Ender's Game, they talk a lot about this like kind of insect like
hive mind.
Yeah, like where it's almost like a bee colony, and they're all able to like wordlessly communicate, and so their configurations are incredible,
right?
Because they're all like they're all working together as one a little bit.
Yeah, but no match for Ender,
No match for Ender.
He's still too good for him.
He does.
Too creative.
Yep.
No spoilers though. Anyway, should read Ender's Game. It's a great book.
It is a great book. It has a splendid twist.
Yeah. Let's see. So as we move on here, what is it? Bulgaria finally scores their first and what will be only goal.
Ugh.
It's painful. They are so outclassed. The Veelas come onto the field, and Mr. Weasley warns everyone, fingers in your ears. But gosh, the behavior of the mascots, like being so unrestrained throughout the map, seems just wild to me.
It does seem wild, except like unless maybe the idea that like because so much of the game takes place in the air, because like normally mascots are like restricted to the sidelines.
Yeah.
But like the pitch itself could be the sideline, I guess. Theoretically,
Like the ground?
The ground.
Yeah.
Nobody's really interacting with it. It's not
but like they could.
I mean,
they could fly down there.
But in the same way that like a football player or something could go careening, into the sidelines too and like knock over.
Yeah.
So we see that happen.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Maybe that's how.
Maybe that's it. But like they're like, they're not just like they're not there to like rile up the crowd. They're very much there to like they came to throw down.
They did. I mean, they are strategically involved in the gameplay, as we'll see even more here in just a few minutes.
Yes.
But before that, though, I think that there's a collective gasp as let's see here.
What, Krum and Lynch go into a dive?
Yes, they're going to crash, screamed Hermione. Lynch, however, hit the ground with a dull thud that could be heard throughout the stadium. Fool, moaned Mr. Weasley. Krum was fainting.
Yeah.
And the fact that Arthur's able to pull this out of his back pocket, it's like, this could just be like some classic dad armchair knowledge.
Yeah, that's exactly what this reads to me.
Yeah.
I was like, what do you do? What are you guys doing out there? I'm like, I wrote down there, I was like, I dare say he knows.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it happens all the time when we watch sports with Dad, where like a lot of times they'd be like, "Oh, that's pass interference," and I'm like, "Was it?" And it's like, and then they'll be like, "It's pass interference," and I'm like, "Dang, Dad, you're so good at calling these things."
Yeah.
Dad knowledge.
Dad knowledge. I
There you
know.
go.
I love it when I get the calls right ahead of time.
I know.
It's such a good feeling.
Jay, you're learning.
I know. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God. All right, boys, let's go.
Right. Someday your kids will look up to you and be like, "Dad, what was that?" I'm like, "It was offsides."
It was offsides. You can usually, I honestly, like half the time, I think if you watch enough of it, you're like, you don't even necessarily like have to see what it was. You can just sort of like circumstantially tell, like, it almost had to be this because what else could it have been?
What else could it have been?
Yeah.
What are the odds we're seeing something new?
I know, right?
Yeah. Let's see here. I love Charlie's reassurance to Ginny. He says he'll be okay. He only got plowed.
Yeah. Oh, well, if that's all.
Oh, okay. Yes, because in most circumstances where anybody is described as having been plowed, it's a good thing.
Yeah. Nothing like crashing into the ground at faster than the speed of gravity.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. No problem there. Also, let's see, it says this is where Harry first learns the name of this move, the Wronski defensive feint. Dangerous secret diversion.
Yes, I loved this one and I highlighted it, not just because I think it's important and kind of fun and cool, because I think Harry will be excited to try it at some point in the future, but also when we were doing our Ron and Hufflepuff series, we sort of took the Ron portion of the Wronski defensive feint and created a keeping maneuver for Ron to do.
The Hurricane Hurl.
The Hurricane Halt.
Oh, the Hurricane Halt. Yes.
And,
You're right.
and so we included Harry's name in that naming convention.
Yes, we
felt
did.
like it was a fun homage to the beginning. So
yes,
that's just kind of fun.
I know. I also, this is interesting too. It says Harry understood. Krum hadn't seen the snitch at all. He was just making Lynch copy him. And I'm like, hasn't Harry done this before?
I think he has some version of it. So maybe it's the kind of thing where it's like you come up with an idea only to discover it's already like a known phenomenon. But like maybe doing it like more intentionally is better.
Yeah, I guess so. But it's like also, how did Oliver Wood never like use fainting or describe fainting to him?
I have no idea.
You know,
like it seems like for Seekers it would be a huge part of the game,
right?
Because like at all times you're needing to do something, otherwise you're just floating there looking around.
I know.
Yeah.
Right.
But what's also kind of interesting here is that like Krum seems to have gone so far. I mean, speaking of the mascots, Krum seems to have gone so far as to have done this particular maneuver, knowing that Lynch would copy him, and then being able to use the period of time that like the medical staff needed to tend to Lynch to gain an advantage by using that window to then hunt for the snitch.
Yeah.
Like unimpeded.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, it's like you literally stopped the game so that you could play the game more aggressively.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean it's very good. It feels like it needs a rule change because otherwise it just seems like it's encouraging exactly this.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like in the case of injury, we'll pause the snitch and re-release it or something. You know?
Right. You think we can pause the snitch or there's someone with like a switch somewhere?
A snitch switch.
We need one.
They do. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it does seem like, or does the game actually stop, or is he just like up there doing it unimpeded while? Let's see. The green flag supporters fireballed. Mufasa blew his whistle again and moved into action. Yeah, so the game is just still happening. You're right. He's just up there, just like, yep, I'm going to find it right now. I'm almost surprised he doesn't find it.
Same here. Yeah. I mean, it seems like with no other opposition.
I suppose if there's 100,000 people in the stadium and the walls are made of gold, finding this particular snitch has got to be very hard.
Dude, gold is a terrible choice.
Unless you want like a really long match.
Which it is so not.
Yeah, I know. It's only like 30 minutes.
Yeah, so short. Let's see here. Then the Chasers move back into action for Ireland, and it seems like they are just like fired up at this point. Like, you know, okay, let's freaking go.
Yeah.
They're leading by 130 points to 10. The game was starting to get dirtier. Let's see here. The Bulgarian keeper gets a whistle blown against him for cobbing.
Trivia.
Yeah, which
excessive use of elbows.
Man, I have no faith in myself to remember that particular detail. At this point in time, the leprechauns are forming the ha ha ha.
I know. Dude, I can't wait for some NFL team to get like a legion of drones that is ready to do this exact thing.
I know.
You know, like it's going to happen. You know where I bet Seattle does it first. That's my guess.
We saw Seattle play this year, and they definitely have no like guidelines there towards trolling the other team.
Oh my God, they were trolling so hard the whole game. Like I could so see. You know what? Listen, if you work at an NFL stadium and you're in the marketing department, start pitching to this to your GM now. You can set a trend.
Get drones.
Get drones. You know, get some programming going. It'll be hilarious.
Yeah. In the meantime, though, Mustafa is once again being relevant to the conversation because he has spotted the Veela and has now found his way over there, and he's flexing his muscles and smoothing his mustache excitedly. Ludo Bagman is like, "Now we can't have that. Somebody slap the referee."
Oh my God, this game quickly just becomes out of control.
It really, really does. No one is. It's like, did it go well? It's like, well,
yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
Also, one ref.
Just one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's see here. So then Mustafa wants to send off the Bulgarian team mascots. I think he's very embarrassed.
Mediwizard came out and kicked him in the shins. Ouch.
Even that could be trivia.
Yeah.
How did the Mediwizard relieve Mustafa of his...
of the Veela gaze or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Yeah, let's see. Mustafa's attempting to send off the Bulgarian team mascots. Now, there's something we haven't seen before. Like, I'm surprised that this is common, but that makes the game even more nasty. Yeah, so we get 2 more penalties for Ireland, even really 3, I suppose, right? Where one of them knocks the quaffle off of Moran here. But then I love the leprechauns are really getting out of hand, making inappropriate giant hand gestures in the sky.
I mean, all you can imagine here, the only thing I can think is that they're flicking them off.
Absolutely. They're giving them the middle finger in the sky.
In the sky, yes. It's like, okay, guys. That's a little, I think we've taken it too far.
I know. And it says, at this, the Veela lost control, transform into birds, and start throwing handfuls of fire at the leprechauns. Like, what is happening?
What is this show?
What is this game? Can you imagine if you were at any sporting event
and the mascots started to violently attack one
another?
Yeah, no.
Oh my gosh. This is hilarious. So they're not also the fact that the Veela have this like secondary ability to like transform into birds that can hurl fire. I'm like, can Fleur do this?
I know, yeah.
In any capacity?
Is this just part of who she is?
/ maybe Krum as well, you know?
And / maybe Krum. That's a good point.
Yes.
Okay, so then I love this line, though, because they've been throwing fire, and Mr. Weasley says, "And that, boys, is why you should never go for looks alone."
Yes.
And I was like, well, Bill does marry Fleur.
Yeah, I know. I had 2 thoughts on this because he gives this piece of advice, and Ron is falling on deaf ears for Ron, who later in this book will, like, Hermione says, "So you're just going to go with the best-looking girl who'll have you," and he's like, "Yep, pretty much."
Yes.
Yeah, so Ron is only concerned with looks, and this will like that sentiment will continue to bite him in the butt for like 3 years following that moment. Because like if he just asked Hermione to the Yule Ball, he might have been happier a lot sooner.
Yeah.
If he just learned this lesson. But then on the flip end of that, though, you're right. Bill marries a part Veela person, and despite being beautiful, she's also very nice and formidable.
She is very nice and incredibly smart. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So like it's not. Don't go for looks alone, but looks don't necessarily make you stupid.
Yeah, precisely.
Yes.
Precisely. Yep. And then as we scoot on down the page a little bit, this is where we get the old bludger to the face for Krum.
The old bludger to the face
because he does not duck. There's blood everywhere. I think he's got a broken nose, possibly from this.
I think so.
Yeah. Krum's nose looked broken.
Yeah, 2 black eyes are blossoming.
Yes, indeed. And Harry wanted someone to realize that Krum was injured, even though he was supporting Ireland. Krum was the most exciting player on the field.
Is he? Like, I mean, what's he doing? Just kind of like coasting around.
Acrobatics, Jay.
Acrobatics.
He's being a bird of prey.
He's being a bird of prey.
Or maybe that's just his Veela blood and you just can't look away from him.
Oh, you're right. You're right, Ben. He's so exciting.
He's just captivating.
Even the way Ron is like kind of obsessed with him.
You know what would be even funnier too is that like I feel like Hermione keeps rolling her eyes at the boys for being obsessed with the Veela, and then she goes to the Yule Ball with Krum.
Yes. It's so funny.
Who maybe as of today we've just decided is maybe part Veela.
Maybe is part Veela. Yep. Although initially she is not drawn in by him.
That is
you know?
true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Yes.
Yeah.
But even when he gets up there, she's like, he was very brave, wasn't he?
Yes.
So it begins.
You know.
So it begins.
All right, let's see here. But now the real moment is happening. He's seen the snitch, Harry shouted. He's seen it. Look at him go. And it seems like half the crowd seems to have realized what's going on. Krum is on his tail.
It's impressive he can catch him because, like, Lynch has a head start and he's also on a firebolt and also a world-class seeker.
Exactly. So it is kind of amazing. I think it really all comes down to sort of the way that they are like careening towards the ground here.
Yeah.
But I love the moment where Hermione's like, they're going to crash. They're not, roared Ron. Lynch is, yelled Harry. And I just love that because it just, I think, demonstrates like Harry does get the game of Quidditch, even though he's like really new to the wizarding world. It's like he's got like a natural instinct for it.
He's got a natural instinct and more than Ron.
More than Ron.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, I highlighted that as well. Just like Seeker's intuition, he could tell.
Right.
I think what's interesting is that it's like Krum is otherwise supposed to be like the best seeker, but he did not find the snitch.
That's a good point.
You know,
That's a good
Lynch
point.
found it.
Lynch does find it first.
Yeah.
I also think it's really interesting to read it because like it's easy to be like a little bit critical of Krum whenever you're like just recalling the Quidditch World Cup and be like, why did he catch the snitch? Like that was such a dumb thing to do. Like,
Yeah.
why would you do that? But like realistically here, it's like he's going to lose. Like Lynch is going for it. And
Yeah,
so
right.
It's like, I mean, really when it comes down to it, it's like at least get the glory of having beat the opponent.
Well, I guess, I don't know, but Lynch crashes, right?
True.
So, I mean, maybe after Lynch crashed, he could have just veered off.
Could have just veered off.
Just like kept his eye on it and been like, you know, maybe at this point your goal is to block or just like prevent him from getting it.
True.
Yeah. In which case, then you might really be the most exciting thing on the field because everyone's just like, oh my God, is Lynch going to get around Krum to get to the snitch to secure the win?
Well, yeah, especially after this crash, though, it sounds like Lynch would not be in good form for
I know,
the rest of the match.
I know.
Yeah. They might have to call up one of their reserve team players.
Yeah. Right?
That's a small
Oliver Wood note.
Yeah.
Also, this is like on this note, when it says that Krum got hit in the face, it says like Hassan Mustafa didn't blow his whistle. And I highlighted that and I'm like, but like, why would he? Isn't people getting hit with the bludgers like a part of the game?
Yeah, it's not really a foul.
Right. It's not really a foul. It's like, do you need to stop the game for getting hit by bludgers? Because isn't the point of bludgers to hit people?
Otherwise, why do we have bludgers?
I know. Like, if you're going to stop it every time they get hit, just don't have the bludgers, you know? Just whatever. I don't know. But obviously, they don't blow the whistle, so I don't know what I'm complaining about. Just that Harry's concerned that they didn't.
Right.
Like, come on, Harry.
Yep.
Jeez.
But anyway, so Krum's got it. It's all over. Bulgaria 160, Ireland 170. Piece of trivia there. Can you remember?
Yeah.
It's ever so tricky because it's not 150 to 160. It's 160 to 170. So you have to remember that Bulgaria did score once, but otherwise Ireland only won by 10. Ireland wins, Bagman shouted, which is very exciting. Krum gets the snitch, but Ireland wins. I don't think any of us were expecting that.
Well,
at least two people were. This is really like one of those things where it's like, I am just convinced that the Weasleys had time turners.
Oh, to like, get this information.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like it feels like they had to.
Because this is like, you're right. It's not like it says, I don't think any of us were expecting that. And it's like, that makes it sound like this never happens. Like that the losing team catches the snitch.
I know.
You know, like, because even that would have been like, that does happen sometimes just to stop things from getting out of hand or to like make up the point difference or something like that.
Right.
I can see there being reasons for this to happen, like in like league play, not in finals play. That's the other thing that makes it a little ridiculous.
Right.
Is that like, maybe if over the course of the season or a tournament to like advance to the next round, like if point differential matters or something, and you just like, we're gonna lose, but at least if we get it now, we'll only lose by 10.
True.
Whereas if they catch it or we just let the game go on, we're likely to lose by a lot more or something.
Right.
Like I can see those kind of reasons, but those kind of reasons don't apply to a finals match where it's winner take all.
Right,
you know?
right. Well, and it's interesting too because I think there's like I mean, you can compare it to so many other sports, like a walk-off home run or like a buzzer beater in basketball or like a Hail Mary to win the game. You know, it's like there are those instances where it's like nobody can really predict it, but it's really cool when you get to see it.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe it's uncommon, but like generally heard of.
Yeah. Right. Could
Anyway.
be. Yeah. I would
have.
have loved it maybe if Bulgaria was like shooting a goal or something.
Yeah. Oh,
You know,
yeah.
And, like Bulgaria shooting like Krum's like I trusted that they would make the goal and they didn't, but I had to catch it.
Right.
You know,
Oh,
it would have like whatever.
Just nearly there.
Just nearly there or something.
So close.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, Harry seems to understand where Krum was coming from. He says he wanted to end it on his terms. That's all. And Hermione's like, he was very brave, wasn't he?
Oh, all that Veela magic's starting to wear off there, Hermione, huh?
Yep. Let's say
That he wanted to end it on his terms, that's all, is interesting coming from Harry as well. Because it is very much, it reminds me a lot of Harry's acceptance of his fate at some point.
Yeah.
Like the difference between like being forced into the arena and like walking in with your head held high.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
It's like some people would say there wasn't a difference, but to Harry there was all the difference in the world.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like that kind of like is like the foreshadowing of that moment right here.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well said, dude.
Yeah. Well,
said.
thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
you're
you.
welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Now we finally get the line from the Bulgarian Minister of Magic who says, "Vel vivat very bravely." You can speak English and Fudge, outraged, and you've been letting me mime all day. Well, it was very funny.
I love that they're just like, yeah, it was funny. Like they're not like serious about it at all.
It's like this was an entertaining bit. You
I know.
Of course.
Right.
But yeah, at this point now, the Quidditch World Cup is being brought into the top box. Just another detail that makes the tickets so awesome is that you get to be like right there in the room with the players.
Oh, I know. It doesn't happen on the field.
Right.
Yeah.
Let's see here. The two panting wizards carrying a vast golden cup into the box. Feels like, I don't know if it's really foreshadowing for the Triwizard Cup, but it feels interesting to me that there's two big trophies.
I mean, this book is cup heavy.
It's cup heavy.
I mean, you've got the Quidditch World Cup, you've got the Goblet of Fire, and the Triwizard Cup.
That's 3 cups.
That's 3 big cups in one book.
Yep, 3 very important cups.
I know. And then we'll later on have, Hufflepuff's cup. So just all sorts of important cups in this world.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true. But yeah, so then as everybody kind of files in, Krum is the last to get in line. He looked a real mess. He had 2 black eyes blossoming on his particularly bloody face. He was holding the snitch. Harry noticed that he seemed much less coordinated on the ground. He was slightly duck-footed and distinctly round-shouldered. I was trying to think if that had anything to do with his partial Veela-ness.
Well, duck-footed. Ducks are kinds of birds, right?
They are kinds of birds.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah.
So
Not
maybe,
that Floor has any of those features, but
not so much.
no.
Yeah, maybe they manifest differently.
Manifest.
Nailed it. Then the Ireland team also comes in with Lynch being supported by Moran and Connolly. Feels like that could be a piece of trivia.
I love that Krum is still holding the snitch.
Yes.
I'm like, that's cool.
That
That's
is
pretty
cool.
cool.
Yeah.
I kept it.
I kept it. Yeah. Well, that's the thing too. I mean, snitches seem like they're single-use objects.
So they are, yeah,
You
I
know,
think so.
And if I caught one at the biggest stage, I would keep it.
Yeah, right?
Like, I'm putting that on my shelf.
Yeah, it feels like they would probably want to put it in some sort of like museum or something.
Yeah.
But I'd be like, nah,
Just
I caught this.
Don't let go of it.
This is mine. Yeah, that's right. So I literally can't let go of it because they will take it from me. So
Yes. Yeah.
this is mine now.
Exactly. Yep. And so then let's see here. The Ireland team goes back out onto the pitch for their final lap of honor on their broomsticks. Bagman, in a grinning in a bemused sort of way, uses the spell Quietus, which feels like a slightly less clever way of turning off the sonorous
I know.
charm.
Sonorous. Quietus.
Yeah, it's like all right.
It sounds like how like we in the real world make up spells.
Exactly.
It's like the word plus us.
Us. Yeah. Magnifius.
Yes, exactly.
But either way, what it reminds me of is like Lumos and Nox, which feel like the perfect words.
Oh, the exact right words.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, so then Bagman says, "Shame it couldn't have lasted longer." Ah, yes. I owe you how much? And Fred and George had just scrambled over the backs of their seats and were standing in front of Ludo Bagman with broad grins on their faces, their hands outstretched.
Mm-hmm.
It's the scrambling over the backs of their seats
Yeah.
bit that I think again plays into that time turner equation.
Right, like they just got there.
Like they just got back
Right.
in time.
There's also no mention of them during the match.
That's the other really big thing.
Right.
Yeah, we hear from Bill and Charlie and Ginny. And Ron.
And Arthur.
And Percy even, because he's the one who keeps dropping his glasses. So everyone else talks. That's the really big detail.
Right.
Everyone else from the Weasley family makes mention, makes conversation. And Fred and George are on Harry's team. Like, it seems like what they would have to say would be relevant.
Oh, I mean,
know,
and it's like if anyone's ever talking the most in the Weasley family, it's Fred and George. They've always got something to say.
Always. Yeah. So,
and they play Quidditch.
right.
You know?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So
Yeah, well, how did they react to the Veela? Right?
Right.
Yeah.
And what was their reaction?
Well, they've done nothing because they weren't there, apparently.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So I think it's because, and we mapped it all out. Like, time travel always ends up getting really weird. And I remember the day that we made the Super Carlin Brothers video breaking this down. We had like the whiteboard just like filled with
Oh,
scribbles. Where
yeah.
it's like
It was very confusing.
they would need to leave here at this time to be here at this time, and then go back here to do this, and then return here. It's a whole thing, but it does work out really nicely. So go check out that video. We can link it in the description. If you want to see that. But that does bring us to the end of chapter 8. Jay, do you have a review for us?
Well, I sure do. Let me pull it up right here on the old phone. This one's going to come from Aragog's Roller Skates.
Hey, nice.
He says, "Hey, brother, I love listening to you guys every day. I'm listening to Chamber of Secrets right now and Goblet of Fire as the episodes come out. Please do the tour again." Well, great news. We are going on tour in February down to the southeast. If you haven't got tickets yet, it's going to be so much fun. We're going to Charlotte, Orlando, Tampa Bay, Jacksonville, Atlanta, and Nashville.
That's right. And Tampa, I think, as of my last ticket report, had like 6 tickets left.
Oh!
So if you are interested in going to the Tampa show, then secure quickly, because those are going quick.
Yes.
But yeah, we definitely hope to see you there. It is going to be just so much fun. We do a live Jay versus Ben, a live reading of the book. We've got all of the chapters that we're going to be reading while we're on tour already announced. It's a hoot and holler.
I am looking so forward to tour. Like, it's going to be so much fun, you guys. Those are like the best nights.
You know, the other thing is that on February 15th of 2025, while we are down in the Orlando area, we are going to Universal for the day
we are.
as a team. So if nothing else and you're in the Orlando area and you spot us while we're at Universal, please come say hello.
Yes.
Please come take a picture.
Yeah.
We would love to see you there.
Absolutely.
It'll be a blast.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, review time.
All right. Their question is, 1, when are you thinking when you were thinking about a particular scene in the book, do you imagine the movie actors as Harry, Ron, and Hermione, or any of the other characters? Because I do, and I'm thinking how the new TV show would change that. It needs to be so good that it fundamentally modifies my memories.
Dude, I think that this is a very good observation. And I have had this same quandary skittering around in my brain a bit. Because I do think the movie characters have kind of like infiltrated and influenced some amount of how I picture the characters. I would say particularly like Hermione, I think, has become Emma Watson in my head more so.
I know. I think especially like we keep making all these jokes, or well, like we keep noticing how the book like portrays Hermione as being like out of shape or like slow at running or coming up the hill or whatever. And I'm like, it seems so ridiculous. Like, why do you keep pointing that out? It's like there's no need to do that. And I'm like, probably maybe Emma Watson was just a lot fitter than how Hermione was imagined.
Maybe so, yeah. Like that could be a thing. Like it's like very, very different like configurations based on how it's executed.
Right. I mean, I think it's also supposed to be a thing where it's like you don't go, because even like the don't go on looks alone. It's just like, if you're like a human being, no one's looking at Emma Watson thinking she's not one of the most beautiful people on the planet. It's just like Ron, like no one like. That's almost like a problem with the casting of Hermione. Then it's just that like she's too attractive for it.
Well, Emma Watson is not someone who is classically overlooked.
No, not at all.
So
whereas it sounds like Hermione would be.
At the very least, it does seem like that is the way that the character is described as being.
Right.
Yeah. Until her big moment here in Goblet of Fire that's coming up for the Yule Ball. Otherwise, the ones that have always stood out to me would be Hagrid by Robbie Coltrane is, I mean, really, it's not that Robbie Coltrane's depiction is infiltrating my thoughts and like changing how I pictured Hagrid. It's just, it is Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid is how I pictured Hagrid.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think Robbie Coltrane and Maggie Smith and
Maggie Smith as
McGonagall and Richard Harris as Dumbledore
Yeah.
are all so perfect, and that's how like I pictured them ahead of time, and then they just got the exact right people.
Yeah.
I will say I picture Snape a lot differently in my head.
I do too.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which
Snape I know it feels like a bit of a hot take. People love Alan Rickman.
They do. I mean, they absolutely do. And when I picture him in my head, it's not even how he's described in the book. And like Alan Rick, like the portrayal in the movie is how he's described as looking in the book, other than being like maybe older. But like, so even when like I first saw him, I think I was just like, that's not how Snape looks. But it's like, it is how it looks. You've just been picturing him wrong in your head, but I can't stop picturing him that way.
Yeah. It's true. It's true. I think Sirius, like Gary Oldman Sirius, I end up probably using. I don't think I use Lupin from the films. I can never remember that actor's name, even though I know he's a really big deal. It bounces around. I don't use everything. From the films.
Yeah, I don't think I picture Sirius as like Gary Oldman. I don't picture Lupin as Lupin, but they don't really like have faces when I like imagine it.
I know that's
in my brain.
That's a good point as well. Yeah. It's really kind of interesting how like that detail isn't all that important to me when I'm picturing the story in my head.
Yeah, but like even the main characters. Like sometimes I will picture like Daniel Radcliffe and Rupert Grint and Emma Watson and like Tom Felton, but like. Not always. Like sometimes like certain iconic scenes I do remember them for. Or like Slughorn, I don't picture him looking like that.
Slughorn in particular is a pretty big deviation.
Like Filch, pretty much spot on.
Filch is extremely good.
Yeah.
That's one that definitely is exactly perfect casting. And it's like sometimes there's like a piece of me that's almost just like, you know, if it was so perfect, just like keep it. You know, it's like just get them to come back,
run it back, man,
reprise their role.
Yeah,
you know. And the other thing I would say about the movies, and I'm very curious because I do feel like they're like almost growing to be more beloved with time. Not that I feel like they've ever really struggled with popularity in any capacity, but I've always observed that like the Star Wars prequels struggled for a long time. Like they were almost kind of like a punching bag for
Star Wars fans.
For Star Wars fans. And then after they had been out for about 20 years, maybe 15 years, like there was almost like a total switch that flipped, like a resurgence in their popularity. And I think I've even listened to an interview with Ewan McGregor, who plays Obi-Wan, where he described how like, you know, like they were like, was it so cool to play Obi-Wan? He's like, well, not everybody really loved the prequels when they come out. Like, you know, so it's almost like it was an honor to get to play the role, but like, you know, it was a little bit of like some backlash that you're dealing with in the meantime. Whereas now people absolutely, you know, love it. And especially Ewan McGregor, I think, as Obi-Wan is one of the more iconic castings. But so what I was going to say, though, is that like my relationship with the Harry Potter movies has always been the further I am from having read the books, the more I like the films.
Right.
And then the more recently I've read the books, usually the more critical of the films I am because of how much they've deviated. But the challenge that the whole Harry Potter saga, I think, is always up against is the necessary use of child actors.
Yeah.
And it's like there are some limitations, but they are so crucial. Like they have to nail it. But then some scenes, I think each of the actors do a lot better than others. So we were doing a video for some Goblet of Fire stuff for an upload that's going up actually today as we're recording. And the scene where Harry's name is called out of the Goblet of Fire and he like sort of like sinks down into his chair and like Dumbledore is like, Harry Potter, and like, you know, sort of like shouting around the room and stuff. It's like, it's a well executed scene.
Yeah.
Like I think Daniel Radcliffe's acting in that moment is like, I'm like, oh, like that is Harry Potter. That is Harry Potter being like, I don't know what just happened. Why is he calling my name?
Right.
I don't want to get up. And it's like when I watch that, I'm like, that is so good.
Yeah.
You know, and I think those glimmers are really what like hold the whole thing up so well, is that there's like it's like some things are so well done.
Yeah.
That it really, you know, it's like, okay, that's lifting for the areas that maybe miss the mark a little bit more.
Right.
Yeah. That would be my overall take. And I know that we've now far left the conversation behind, but it's the reason it's so interesting to me is I can't stop thinking about the HBO series.
Yeah.
And what they'll do.
Oh, I know. I was like thinking that I was like, will the music be the same? Like, will they have the same music?
I know.
You know?
Can you imagine Harry Potter without John Williams?
I know. It's like maybe you just keep the music, or it's like, no, you got to let it be its own thing. Got to let it carve its own path, or is it going to be like how like the Fantastic Beasts music is like clearly inspired by the Harry Potter music?
Right.
You know, it's not the same, but it's like there.
It's there. Yeah, it's in the territory. It's like kind of cut from the same cloth.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, it's all so interesting. I mean, my personal advice, again, if anybody cares, is you're probably best off not making homages to anything. Treat it as if it's never been done before.
That is probably the right thing to do.
Yeah. Just make it all from the ground up, and then I mean, invariably there's going to be fan service that's baked into it. There will be, somehow, some way, there will be a character who reprises a role of some measure of importance. I mean, I would be shocked if we get through 10 years of Harry Potter TV and none of the original actors show up anywhere.
I know, because I mean, there's just so many like famous British actors who were in the original.
Yes.
Yes,
I know. It's like, I mean, that's the other thing too, is that like, there are only so many spectacular, I mean, there are a lot of really good British actors, but on some level they pulled a lot of the really, really notable ones into that series.
Right.
Yeah. So it's all interesting. It's all very exciting. I will be stoked, when that day comes, and I suspect we'll probably do an episode by episode breakdown.
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah,
absolutely.
Once it's coming out, we can add a little extra magic to the Gryffindor's upload schedule every week. So anyway, all things to look forward to. But I think that does it for today.
Yes, I think so. But as always, thank you so much for listening, and we hope you'll join us next week for Chapter 9, The Dark Mark, here on Through the Gryffindor.
Today's episode was edited by Ethan Edghill. Vaishon Brandon does our art. Catherine Stein is our production manager, and the show is hosted by me and Jonathan Carlin.